So in our warm-up, we want to review solving systems by graphing. Right? Notice, in all three of these cases, y is already by itself. Right? If it isn't, it might be a better option to use one of the other methods that we're going to go through instead of graphing anyways. Right? But if we go ahead and look at 1, 2, and 3, solving by graphing, right, remember we're trying to find where the two lines intersect. So in number 1, my slope is -1, and my b value is 1. So I start at my b value, I start at 1 on my y-axis, and -1, I put -1 over 1, and that tells me I go down 1 to the right 1, down 1 to the right 1, and I can put a bunch of points on there. Right, and I'm going to keep doing that. Down to the right is the same as up and to the left, so I can keep putting more points on there, get as many points as I can, so I make sure I find exactly where they meet. Right, and then connect those with a straight line and put my arrows at the end. And my second line, I have a slope of +2, so it should be going uphill. Right, 2 over 1, and my b value this time is 4. So I'm going to start at 4 on my y-axis, and now I want to go up 2 to the right 1, up 2 to the right 1, or down 2 to the left 1. There's the point where they're the same, down 2 to the left 1, and I keep doing that as far as I can just so I get a bunch of good points. Connect those with a straight line, but my answer is where did those two things meet? Right, they met at that point right there, which is the point where x is -1 and y is 2. So my solution is the point -1, 2. My solution for solving a system of equations is always an ordered pair. That's going to be something that we need looking at the new stuff today. In number 2, the first equation has a slope of 1, I can put it over 1, and a y-intercept of 2. I start at my y-intercept, and I go up 1 over 1. So I can put a bunch of points on there. I keep going up 1 over 1 until I can't anymore, and then I could go down 1 and backwards 1. Right, so up 1, right 1 is the same as down 1, left 1. So I can put some more points on the other side. And then once I have all those points, connect with a straight line, arrow at the end. The second line has a slope of -2 over 3. Right? That means -2/3, right? -2 over 3 would be down 2 and to the right 3, but I need somewhere to start before I can start counting, and that's what my b value or my y-intercept gives me. It tells me start at -3 and then count down 2 to the right 3, down 2 to the right 3. And that's as many times as it fits going that way, so I'm going to go in the opposite direction, up 2 to the left 3. And that's where I find my intersection point there, up 2 to the left 3. Connect that one, arrows at the ends. But my answer is where did those intersect? They intersected at the point -3 for x and -1 for y. And my last one. My first equation has a slope of 2/3 and a b value of 1. So the b value tells me I get to start at 1, but then I count up 2 over 3. Up 2 over 3, and I want to make sure that it looks like my line goes uphill since my slope is positive. Right, and it does, so I can connect those points. And my second equation has a slope of 2. Since it's a whole number, I put it over 1. And a y-intercept of -3. So I start at -3, and I go up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1. That's the same as a point on my blue line. So I'm going to mark that because I know that's going to be my answer because that's where they intersect. Connect, put arrows at the end, and I end up with the answer of my x value, right, x-axis is side to side, is positive 3, and my y value is positive 3. If you still have questions on solving by graphing, make sure you are asking. Otherwise, the second part of our warm-up was taking a look at solving equations. So if we take a look at numbers 3 and 4, my rule for solving equations is that I follow my order of operations. Now, some people say it shouldn't be a P because it's a grouping symbol, right? That's okay. I'm following those backwards though. So I'm going to undo adding and subtracting first, right? But even more, if I have a variable on both sides of my equation, right, I need to combine them, right, so that I only have a variable on one side. Because they're on different sides, I have to do the opposite. Right? So I have to subtract 4m, so I'm going to subtract the smaller one, and subtract 4m, so I have no m's left on the right side. On the left side, I still have 2m's plus 2 equals 6. I can subtract 2 from both sides, so 2m equals 4. And finally, if I divide by 2, I get that m is 2. How could I check that? Because it does tell me to check my solution. So if I check that, that would mean plugging 2 back in for m and making sure my sides are actually the same. So is 6 times 2 plus 2 actually the same as 4 times 2 plus 6? The big thing when we're checking to remember is we never want to actually do any of those solving steps. I never want to do the opposite. Right? I just want to see if it's true or not. 6 times 2 is 12 plus 2, and 12 plus 2 is 14. So the left-hand side is 14. I want to see is the right-hand side 14. 4 times 2 is 8, and 8 plus 6 is 14. So since the two sides are the same, that one checked out. I know my answer is correct. In number 4, I have extra stuff to combine first. Right? I want to make sure I don't have more than one letter part and one number part on each side when I start. If they're on the same side, I don't do the opposite. I just put them together. So negative 7 plus 11 is positive 4a. Here, 5 plus 7. Right? You can put that at the beginning or at the end. That's up to you. I'm going to put it at the end. 6a plus 12. Now I need to get my a's on the same side. So to move the a to the other side, now I do need to do the opposite. So I'm going to subtract 6a to move my a's so that I only have a's on the left side and I only have numbers on the right side. That gives me negative 2a equals 12, and I can divide by negative 2 to get a by itself. So a is negative 6. And last step yet is to check our work. So when we check our work, we want to check to make sure that if I plug in negative 6, right, that I have an actual equation, that the sides are the same. So negative 7 times negative 6 plus 11 times negative 6 is supposed to equal 5 plus 6 times negative 6 plus 7. So I get, on the left side, 42 plus negative 66, which is negative 24. And on the right side, 5 plus negative 36 plus 7, which is negative 31 plus 7, so negative 24. So the two sides are equal. It checked out. My answer is correct. And looking at 5 and 6, if you didn't try them yet, pause and try them, right? Really challenge yourself. You're going to learn better by doing it than just by copying it down. And in number 5 and number 6, we have parentheses. So in addition to the stuff we did in 3 and 4, we also have to use our distributive property. So I have to multiply everything inside the parentheses by 3. So 3 times p is 3p, and 3 times negative 5 is negative 15, and minus p is minus 1p equals 1. This is where a lot of us on our last quiz made little mistakes, right? If the p parts are on the same side, I don't do the opposite. I just put them together. Right? What is 3p minus 1p? It's 2p. And then there's still the minus 15. And now it's just a basic equation to get p by itself. I can add 15 to both sides. 2p is 16. And when I divide by 2, I get that p is 8. If we check our work, right, if I put 8 back in, I want to make sure that the sides are actually equal. 3 times 8 minus 5 minus 8 is supposed to equal 1. Right? Well, the right-hand side already is done. It's just 1. I want to make sure the left-hand side is 1 also. So this is, if I follow my order of operations and do that parentheses first, or the grouping symbols, 8 minus 5 is 3. So this changes to 3 times 3 minus 8. And then I multiply before I subtract. So 9 minus 8, and 9 minus 8 is 1. So I know that my answer was correct. And last one. First thing I'm going to do is get rid of those parentheses. Most common mistake is forgetting that that's a negative 3. Right? So the subtraction sign there makes it a negative 3 that I need to multiply both parts by. That leaves me with 27 minus 2x equals 5. Negative 3 times negative x is positive 3x. Goodness. Positive 3x. And negative 3 times positive 6 is negative 18. My next step is to combine my like terms so I only have one number part and one x part on each side. Since the 5 and the minus 18 are on the same side, I don't do the opposite. I only do the opposite to move it to the opposite side. Right? If I don't want to move it to a different side, I just put those together. 5 minus 18 is negative 13. So I really have 3x minus 13 equals 27 minus 2x. Then I want to move my x's to the same side. It really doesn't move. If I want to deal with positive numbers, right, then I would move the smaller one. So negative 2 is the smaller one. If I move it to a different side, so to go to the opposite side, I need to do the opposite. So I'm going to add 2x to both sides. So then I have 27 is 5x minus 13, and now it's that basic two-step equation. Undo adding and subtracting, and then undo multiplying and dividing. So 40 is 5x. When I divide both sides by 5, I get that x is 8. Last but not least, still want to check my work. So if I plug 8 back in for x, are the two sides equal? 27 minus 2 times 8 equals 5 minus 3 times negative 8 plus 6. So if I start on the left side, this is 27 minus 16. 27 minus 16 is 11. So now I just want to prove that the other side is 11 also. So it's 5 minus 3 times, well, negative 8 plus 6 is negative 2. Negative 3 times negative 2 is really positive 6, and 5 plus 6 is 11. So the sides are the same, which means my answer is correct. So these are things that I definitely need moving into our 5.2 notes today. So go ahead and take a look at 5.2 example 1.